We've had a couple of conversations here on the Think Tank Swellcast where we've heard from experts on their take on the Bharat Jodo Yatra. Up until last year, the Congress party seemed like they were running out of ideas, especially with regard to challenging the unprecedented dominance of the BJP electorally. Given that Rahul Gandhi, the former Congress president, successfully completed the Yatra and it garnered quite a bit of attention, I suppose it's worth asking what the potential impact this could have had on the electorate going forward. This is Karan Dev, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by one of India's most eminent political commentators and journalists, Mr. Rashid Kidwai. Mr. Kidwai is also an author of multiple books, the most recent one being Leaders, Politicians, Citizens, 50 Figures Who Influence India's Politics. Mr. Kidwai is also a frequent participant on several primetime debates, and it's great to have him join me on Swell today. Mr. Kidwai, thanks again for agreeing to give us your perspective on the Bharat Jodo Yatra. I wanted to start this off by asking you what you made of the impact that this Yatra might have potentially on the electorate going forward this year and in the next year, just before the general elections. Do you believe that this might give fresh energy to the party, and what do you really think the Congress's prospects are in the next general election, if you had to speculate based on this Yatra?
So Rahul Gandhi has done very well in terms of undertaking this Yatra, which was very high on optics, but I still suspect that it is little low on substance, because Rahul needs to do far more in terms of what is his stand on emotive political issues, matters of faith, how much of religion and politics should be mixed. His discourse throughout the Yatra has focused on three things. One is, of course, the issue of political authoritarianism, how institutions are being compromised. The second issue has been about the divide between rich and the poor, which is, of course, an age-old thing. But suddenly, he's trying to make a distinction that how India is prospering, whereas Bharat is lagging behind. If we are giving food security to 80 crore people, that amounts 800 billion people. One way is that you can take a lot of pride in this, that we are able to, the government of the day is able to feed 800 billion people. But the counter argument is that why after 76 years of independence, after 9 years of Narendra Modi rule, there is still this figure is going high, that who are not able to work hard and have meet their own needs, etc. So this is a big question, both ethical, moral, and of course political. So far Rahul Gandhi has done well to highlight these issues. Remember, the charge against him has always been that he is a reluctant politician, is disinterested, is more concerned about traveling abroad, his holidays. The Congress organization is very weak. When Rahul Gandhi joined politics, the Congress track record in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Bengal and Tamil Nadu was quite dismal. Tamil Nadu, they of course have an alliance, but during Rahul Gandhi's time as a UPA 10 years, and now the Congress has become almost zero in a state of Delhi, Punjab, Gujarat, Andhra, Telangana and Odisha. So suddenly the tally of from 4, the Congress being negligible or zero or insignificant, is now in 10 states. So he has to arrest that. He has to have some kind of progressive agenda. You can go on criticizing Mr. Narendra Modi on muscular nationalism, on China, on that kind of cult of intolerance that exists in the country. But what is Congress doing? Is the condition of communal harmony better in the Congress states like Rajasthan, like Chhattisgarh? But the answer, some would say no, because we have seen in Rajasthan also a lot of hate crime taking place, and of course violence and rioting, etc. So these are the answers. And if we talk about Rajasthan, we have this kind of constant struggle that is going on between Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot and Sachin Pilot. So Rahul is not able to make up his mind. I mean, collectively the Congress party, whether they would continue with Mr. Ashok Gehlot, who is the Chief Minister of Rajasthan, or have a change of Chief Minister. And indecision is something that is costing Congress very heavily. It's a question of Congress' own heft. Remember, there are over 200 Lok Sabha seats, parliamentary seats, where the Congress and the BJP are in direct contest. And as far as 2014 and 19 elections are concerned, the BJP strike rate was 90%. So unless the Congress reduced that kind of success rate between the Congress and BJP in direct contest to 50% or 60-40%, the Congress cannot take on the BJP. Look at the vote percentage. Congress is just around 18-19% of votes, whereas BJP's vote percentage went up from 31% in 2014 to 38% in 2019. So Congress has to catch up. The question is, was Bharat Jodo Yatra effective in mobilizing 5% extra votes? I'm not so sure. The time will tell. There are 9 assembly elections before this parliamentary elections are held in 2024. Can Congress do well in Karnataka? Can Congress do well in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, retain power in Chhattisgarh? These are the questions that we need to wait and watch. But overall, a very good effort from a person. He has displayed a lot of determination, application.
Thank you so much for that perspective, sir. And just in terms of the state of the opposition today, I just wanted to get a quick read on what you think opposition unity in the country stands as today. And, if there was an alliance that came together, what shape and form do you realistically think that will take? Do you still think that the Congress is likely to garner a lot of support within the opposition after the Yatra? And, can we see 2024 as an election that the opposition realistically stands a chance? And if they do, what formation would you argue would really help them in terms of actually putting together a strong alternative to the BJP? And with that, Mr. Kidwai, this is a short conversation, and there are many, many details that I'd love to go over and hear your thoughts on. But I think it makes sense to keep this conversation short for now. It was wonderful hearing you on Swell. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this conversation with me. I really look forward to having you soon on the Think Tank Swellcast for more perspectives as we draw closer to that crucial election date in 2024 and all the state elections that are coming up this year as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, indeed, this is a great pleasure. I think that question about that opposition unity that you're asking is very pertinent. It's very important. It's very significant. I think for that Rahul has to make some kind of sacrifice, because he has to declare he is not a contender. If he is a contender, then Mr. Modi is going to have some kind of easy meat, because we have this regional parties like TMC, like Aam Aadmi Party, like Nitish Kumar's JDU, who do not want to play second fiddle to Rahul Gandhi. Unless the Congress gets 150 Lok Sabha seats or more, the way they did very well in 2004 when UPA was formed. But as long as Congress is under 100, it is morally, politically and logistically would not be in a position to dictate terms about who would be the Prime Minister. Actually, the story of opposition unity is little misunderstood. Opposition unity comes from position of strength. It invariably happens in the past, like it happened in 1977, 1989, 1996, 2004. It always came with the, around elections or post elections. So it's a very simple thing. Indian Parliament has 272 Lok Sabha seats, 543 Lok Sabha seats. 272 is a half mark. Now if the non-NDA opposition can get 272, then there is no way Mr. Modi can come back. In order to do so, they The Congress has to do work halfway, that is 130, 140 seats out of 272, and the non-NDA, non-Congress parties like TMC and JDU and Samajwadi Party and others will have to get 150, 130 odd Lok Sabha seats. So if they do it, there is no way Mr. Modi can make it. See, we must also remember there are 4 states of Bengal, Karnataka, Bihar and Maharashtra, 158 seats. Majority of them went to BJP. Even in Bengal, BJP had 18 Lok Sabha seats. In Maharashtra, they had 42, the alliance. In Bihar, 39, again the alliance. So if by stroke of luck or hard work or a combination of two, the opposition can reduce in these 4 states the BJP tally to half, I think we have a game in hand. It will be a very interesting contest. So 2024 story of opposition is unfolding. I see it some dramatic developments after Karnataka elections that are there in May 2023 and subsequently.